computer. All right. Okay, recording in progress. So good morning, everybody. So happy to see everyone. And today I'm excited to talk about more host coaching, because once we get parties on the calendar, immediately we need to have a really clear-headed perspective on what we're going to do. I honestly think one of the reasons that I struggled to book parties last year is because I didn't know what I was going to do with that hostess once I got her. And I couldn't have put that into words until now. Now that I see the difference and having a clear-headed plan of action. Whereas before it was like, well, what am I going to do with her? Is she just going to do this? Is she going to do this? I've got 15 different ways to Sunday of how to do a party with this chick. And I don't even know what to say to her. Now we have a simple success formula, which is a guest list and a gathering. So think about that. A guest list means she's inviting people. She's not marketing to them. She's inviting them. And a gathering means it's a thing at a particular time in a particular location. And whether it's in person or on Zoom is irrelevant. And some people would argue that even if it's on Facebook Live, I can live with that as long as there is a guest list and a gathering. Okay. The obvious detraction from a Facebook Live is that there is no interaction. And we cannot connect well with people in that format. If that's the best we can do for that hostess and she's willing to get 10 people watching, hey, you've done something, right? That's great. If that's all she's willing to do. But our goal is to tell her from the get-go that our number one intention for her is $1,000 party. And that's about 10 people with a $100 average order. And the best way to do that is with a guest list and a gathering, not marketing on Facebook. And we can say Facebook is not our friend when it comes to this any longer. And we are steering clear of it whenever possible. And so what I want to do is share with you how we're going to make this work. And so what we're trying, it goes back to old school. It's the 30 to 40 guests on the list. And the cool thing is that if it is virtual, those ladies can be anywhere in the country. It doesn't have to be within that 30-minute drive radius. It could be anywhere. If it is live and in person, you go back to who do you know? Let's help you invite 30 to 40 from different circles of your friends. Because if all she invites is the moms on the soccer team, well, what if there's a change in the date of the soccer practice or the playoff or whatever the thing is. And so we want to go back to old school and help her to invite from different circles of friends to come to her party, even if it's not live and in person, but especially if it is live and in person, because it totally changes the tone. I can't tell you how many times I've had like a single friend group and one ringleader in that friend group will ruin the party for me, or will totally change the dynamic in the room, or totally absorb everybody in the room because of what she's doing or saying, and I can't get anywhere, and there aren't enough orders, right, for the hostess. And so that you got to dilute the guest list as much as possible for different circles. All right, so what I want to do is the company has given us two really great tools, and I really like them. And so when we were in Florida, with our leader and future leader meeting, we went through both of the host checklists quickly, and we identified in each of the types of conversations which component was the most important. And I think you're going to see some really interesting similarities between the virtual and the in-person. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Let me just do it this way. Okay. All right, sharing. Okay, stay connected. All right, so let's take a look at the in-person first, this checklist. And can you all see this? Let's see if I can make it any bigger. I can't unless I download it. So let me just go ahead and do the download. Fine. Save it. I don't care where you put it. Let's see. All right, here we go. In-person host coaching checklist. You can print these off, of course, whenever you want to. But let's talk about the initial chat with her, right? So depending on, just, kind of depends on where we are. It might be that, she said yes after a text message, or she said yes because she's at a party with you. But out of these things, think about which two would be most important. To select the date, obviously you've got to select the date and the time, right? Give her a host packet, interest in the business, invitation process options, wish list, friending you on Facebook, setting up a time to chat tomorrow. Which has the most direct impact, obviously, aside from setting the date, the time, and the theme, has the most direct impact on the success of the party? Maybe there are two.
I say invitation process.
Okay. I like that. Anybody else?
I'd say the top and the bottom one.
Select date, time, and theme, and then set up time to chat. Yeah.
I agree.
Okay. Yeah. And discuss the invitation process. And then of course that can continue on into the next conversation, right?
Mhm.
So discussing that invitation process, this is where we have to cast vision for her, because she only knows what she knows, but we know what we know. And so if we do too much asking of what she wants to do without giving input, we're going to run afoul. And then she's going to start running away with what she feels comfortable with, or what she's used to, or what she has seen most recently. So it's important that we need to give input about this, and in that it is a discussion, and that we explain why we think certain things are good. Okay. So let's go back down to contact number 2. Maybe it's the day after, and we've confirmed. So what are the most important, maybe the 2 most important concepts here? Confirm the party date and go over the host rewards. And they're all important, but we got to figure out like what's key. Check on her interest, create the party invitation, host connection email, coach her to invite the guest personally, text her the party link along with verbiage, create her wish list, and Amy. If you had to pick 2, because they're all good.
Her interest in business.
I think the verbiage is key.
Okay. And out of curiosity, from your experience, why do you think that is?
Because I think a lot of hosts will just start copying and pasting the invitation with no personal message. So I think it's important to, make sure that she sends a little message with each invitation so they know it's her, that she cares that they are there.
Yeah. That's great. Is there one other in here that is particularly, that might be a little bit further above any of the others?
Well, yeah, definitely getting the party invitation in Glam Central right away.
Yeah. Right. That would have to predate doing the invitation link to her. What about coaching her to invite her guests personally?
Yes.
Having that conversation. The funny thing is, if all she has seen the last 2 years is this Facebook marketing thing, then it's going to be a little bit of a re-education for her. And sometimes it'll involve a little bit of arm twisting, like, would you be my guinea pig kind of thing? Here's what we're finding is really working around the country. We're shifting back to this. Would you be willing to do this with me so that we can give you the best outcome, that kind of thing. But so here again, it's how she communicates, right? It's how she's inviting becomes critical. So then we go to contact number 3, and these are just very, sort of broad brush concepts of contact number 3 being the week before. But in this case, they've got things like check how the RSVPs are coming, keep inviting reminder to reach out personally, provide text verbiage for the RSVPs, the yes, no, maybe, and no. Let's see if there's anything else above there. Yeah, so that was number 3, week before. Which do you think is most important in that? Sorry, I keep moving this around. I apologize. And again, they're all important, but which one do you think is most important to help her?
I
Remind
think
her
this
to,
is
go ahead.
oh, go ahead, Kathy.
Remind her to reach out personally to her peers.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, definitely that. What if she doesn't know what to do with that though?
send her some verbiage.
Yeah. So then it really is the verbiage. So again, it's about helping her figure out what to say to people so that we
Yeah.
can direct that. Okay. All right. So then let's go to the next one. 3 to 4 days before. Similarly, come on. There we go. So reviewing the RSVPs and the outside order. Again, all of these are important and helpful. Offer the business opportunity, share your appreciation and excitement, provide reminder verbiage for the yes responses, reminder to keep your refreshment simple, confirm your arrival time. If you had to pick one, what would be most important?
Offer the business opportunity.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. That is really important. Yeah.
Mhm.
What about that reminder verbiage? How many parties have we had fall apart because she gets to 3 days before the party and nobody has even responded yet? Or she has one RSVP, or she has a few yeses, but you know what happens to yeses? They kind of forget. Right. And actually, I like the verbiage, giving her verbiage for the maybes also.
Okay.
The day before, text her about last minute cancellations. You can do things like this, but I think more importantly, because I'm not one who does a lot of prizes because I can't keep it straight in my head how to do it. Like my brain gets really confused when I have to start coming up with contests, and I don't know. It messes with my brain. My brain works very simply, but maybe some of you are really good about that. Like they place an order, they go into a drawing, blah, blah. But think about how many times a hostess has not had her friends show up at a party. And that really does happen.
Mhm.
And typically it's because they didn't get a reminder, because women are so busy, right? And they just forget, whether it's in person or virtual. But even in person, it'll be like, oh my gosh, I forgot I'm supposed to go to Rena's house tonight, for her party. Whereas how many times have we heard somebody say, I'm so thankful that you reminded me, because I would have totally blown it off and forgotten about it, and I would have felt terrible. And that's where that ends up being the most important thing that we can share with her, is the messaging. Okay, so now let's take a look for grins at the other one, the virtual, just to see if you notice any differences. Okay, let me download that sucker. Come on. All right, put it wherever you want to put it. I'm going to grab it. Okay. So day of the booking, select the date and time, all that, right? Check on her interest in the business, all that. Set up the party in Zoom, create the party invitation, host connection email, coach her to invite her guests personally, send her the invitation link along with verbiage, wish list, friend you on Facebook. So in this case, now we're talking about a Zoom party. What do you think is most important this time?
I would say select date, time, theme, format, and then the verbiage.
Yeah. Okay. So that's pretty much the same as the other one, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
in this case, rather than trying to treat it differently from an in-person party, we can actually treat it the same way, which is a very different concept from what we've been doing. Because in the past, what we would do is, if it was a virtual or even an in-person, we'd be rushing to Facebook to create that event page, rush into Facebook to
Mhm.
create that group, right? Rather than
Right.
focusing on the person to person communication, but us to the hostess to her guests, right? Okay, the pre-party contact. So we've got suggest a call with the host on Zoom to build her comfort. Great idea. These are all good ideas. I'm not negating any one of them.
Sure.
But the key is what's critical. Like, what is the most important intrinsic thing that we cannot miss? Interest in the business, wish list in Amy, check on our RSVPs, encourage her to keep on inviting. To drive engagement, set up a Facebook group or event, encourage your host to post, comment, or tag friends. Provide text verbiage for the RSVPs, the yeses, the nos, the maybes, and the no responses.
I find that this one is really will determine what kind of host you have, because I feel like they really, if they're really excited, they're going to do this. If they're just
Mhm.
kind of like, like, let's just wait and see what happens type thing, they're not going to go back to the yes, no's, and maybes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a little stuck on this section.
Yeah, I agree. And this is where that first conversation with her really becomes important, and getting her to buy in. Because if she seems like the kind of person that's just going to want to rely on throwing 100 friends onto Facebook and me marketing to them, then we're going to have a tough time for the most part. Now, there are some, and Raina has been able to perfect how to do this in as many cases as possible with her hostess. But even then, there's a big buy-in that they have to do with her. And so this is the thing, is that what we want to say to her at the very beginning of doing this party is, we're linking arms with you. And between the two of us, we will make sure you have a great party. And the problem is, if suddenly she peters out and goes, well, I'm just going to, and this happened to me in late November, same thing happened to me. It was going to be a live in-person party. Then she had to travel. And then she said, well, let's just do it on Facebook. And then she would not invite her friends to a Zoom. And and the whole thing just fell apart. And I was like, we're not going to, and that was right. We didn't get anywhere. She has had $1,500 parties with me before, and she got no one ordered anything. Right.
Yeah.
Because she would not send anything to individuals. Right.
Yes.
Just kind of that way. And you're right. And so we can even give that example when we're doing our host coaching, and do a heart to heart and say, listen, my number one goal for you is $1,000 party. I'll tell you what won't work. What isn't working is this. You paint that picture. What is working is this: a guest list and a gathering, even if it's on Zoom. And we don't need to rely on Facebook, because they will do what you ask them to do, not what I show them. Is the difference. And so it's very hard, and that I don't think we can beat ourselves up if they're not willing to go with the wisdom that we believe we have in this. And there are simply some, it's just not going to be worth it to them, to even have it on their plate, because it's just not the right timing for them to focus on it. And that's okay too. Nicer to know that going into it than halfway through.
What does Raina do?
WWRD. Yeah. Okay. In November, I started a kind of a virtual spreadsheet. I use Google Sheets so I can access it anywhere I'm at. And I basically have taken a mixture of the in-person and the virtual party checklist, and took out the pieces that I think are the most important and put them in a spreadsheet. And so I have daily tasks that I need to do for my hostess leading up to the party. And then I have, and I check them so I know I did them, because I can't keep it all in my brain, let's be honest, ladies. And then I also have daily tasks during the party, the pre-party, because most of my parties are Facebook and then a Zoom at the end. And I have a daily task for the hostess, and it's based on what I'm talking about that day. So today I'm talking about necklaces. I send her a text message with what to do And then usually it's with a photo. So she gets an idea of what to do. Like if you own any touchstone crystal necklaces, you know, go ahead and post a picture of your necklace or you wearing it. Or if you don't have any yet, post a couple pictures of your favorite and why you love it. You know, so I'm getting her to post every day in the party, which is helping her guests participate because she doesn't leave me with the creepy clown, which is me, when her friends don't know me, but they know her. So if she participates daily in a post and then of course commenting on my posts, not just liking them, it helps engagement. And I've found since I started doing this in November, it really has spiked engagement and sales because people are actually paying attention because she's participating in the party. And so one of these coffee chats, I think Betsy and I are I'm gonna show you guys what I have and then I can share it and all that stuff. But it seems to work for me, and it's trying to help me get my hostesses engaged in the party because it isn't invite your friends, I'll do all the work. That's not really true. They need to do a little bit of work. Even if it's 5 to 10 minutes a day, it's nothing compared to what their party sales will be if they just participate.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome. I don't know if you guys noticed, I have the 2 checklists side by side here. And the one thing that I'm not really liking about the virtual party checklist is there's 4 categories. There's day of booking, pre-party contact, which doesn't say when to reach out to people, and then day before. So if you're booking this party like 3 weeks in advance, it's a pre-party contact. Okay, when are people supposed to do that? Because you know people like to be told what to do and when to do it, right? Including us. And with the in-person, it actually breaks it down a little bit before. You know, day after, week before, 3 to 4 days before.
That's a good point.
So I wish the virtual checklist kind of like that pre-party contact can be broken down into a few different groups. Because it'll tell people, you know, consultants when to reach out, because that can be very confusing. I mean, if you're booking the party like 4 days before the party, it's kind of obvious, but if you're booking out far, that whole pre-party contact can totally get lost and not done.
And are you doing a Zoom at the end of that week?
Yeah.
As opposed to a Facebook Live?
Yeah, I try to do Zoom at all possible, but like you were saying earlier, if the only thing I can get them to do is Facebook Live, I'll do it. But then I really have to coach them really well so that people actually show up to the live.
Right. Exactly. Okay.
Raina, do you put, when you're doing your Facebook, when you set it all up, are you posting a lot of pictures and things like that also, as if you were just going to be doing just a Facebook Live leading up to your Zoom? Or do you just make sure that the hostess is only posting what she's wearing and what she has?
I do both. So she posts something daily, depending on what we're talking about. And then I usually have 5 posts that I do throughout the day that I've scheduled. And usually there's always a game that's related to the post, and then 4 posts that talk about the jewelry. And I'm always doing, you know, comment for, you know, a ticket into the drawing, because I want people to participate. So we're doing it together. So I tell my hostess, we're teaming together to make your party successful. I have work to do and you have a little bit of work to do every day.
Right. So you do that, do you do that like 3 days before the Zoom, or do you do it more days before the Zoom, or just a couple? I mean, what is your plan? So like if somebody is, let's say somebody books a party like for a Monday. Okay. So do you start like on a Wednesday or a Thursday with the Facebook leading up to that Monday, or do you do it over the weekend? How do you do that? Or is that something we need to wait till we have a coffee chat?
I can just give you a brief. I do 5 days before the Zoom, and then I have a couple days ahead of that where they can add their guests, and I post a couple like housekeeping rules, like turn your notifications on kind of things.
Gotcha.
Because it usually takes them a day or 2 to add everybody, and personally inviting is best. They don't always listen to that. When I see oh, they've added 60 people. I'm like, they're not listening to my
Right.
personal invite.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
I'd rather have 10 people in the group that actually want to be there than 50 that don't give any, what's about it.
I totally agree. Totally
Mhm.
agree.
Yeah.
I like your concept of what you're doing. I think it's awesome.
Thank you.
So this is sort of a third type of gathering that Raina is really perfecting. But I want you, so separate it for a minute in your mind, because I don't know that there's any better or any worse. It just depends on what you want to focus your time and energy on. Like for me, I'm really tired of posting stuff. And I'm not even doing a good job of it in my own VIP group, much less in somebody's Facebook group. Raina, however, has got it down to a science. For me, what I'm trying to do is get rid of the Facebook portion of it and only have them invite to the gathering. So that, however, there are so many good things about the Facebook portion that could lead up to the gathering, but it's like an a la carte component. It can be an a la carte extra component to the gathering that you're doing on Zoom. Does that make sense? The two can be combined, and Raina is doing it really successfully. If for somebody who doesn't want to do any Facebook, you can simply do the Zoom or simply do the in-person party. So prior to the shutdown, we would often do a Facebook event that was the invitation to come into somebody's house, right? Hey, come to Raina's house. She's doing a party and I'm promoting it with pictures and whetting their appetite and giving them the shopping link for 5 or 6 or 3 weeks before the party as the invitation, not as a way to get orders. So, we have to remind ourselves, wait, how did we used to do this? Because there's all of that too. But it depends on whether or not you want to rely on Facebook not shooting you in the back is the hard part. Now, Raina's got her algorithms figured out somehow because she's getting that hostess involved, and that really plays. And especially if that hostess will then also invite her friends specifically to come to the thing on the Friday night, right? Which is like the event. Everything else was the lead up. This is the event, right? And so, so now you can see that there really are 3 different ways to do this, but they all lead to the one conclusion, which is the hostess has to be involved. And that's what I wanted this exercise to be about, is engaging that hostess so that we're totally eliminating the option of, oh, just say yes, invite your friends and I'll do the rest. We have to eliminate that mindset. We have to eliminate that set of expectations that we're placing, because it's hurting us. It isn't giving us what we need. And think about it. If we have a hostess who doesn't do well with her Touchstone Crystal party, what's the word on the street going to be? Oh, those parties aren't very good, right? So we have to be extra careful about that to make sure that our parties are really good, because A, it gives us more customers who will want to do the same thing because it was successful. And B, we eliminate any possibility of any negative, stuff, because how the negative flies, 100 times faster than the positive stuff does too. So another reason to be wanting to shift our game, focus on that guest list and the gathering in one way or another, so that we are focusing on communication with us to the hostess and the hostess to her friends. Okay. So that's why I wanted to show all this to you, so that I knew it was good fodder for, and I didn't mean to go as long as I did, but it's really good fodder for some ideas and clearing our brains of how we've been doing this and setting a new course. Alicia, were you going to say something?
Oh, no, I agree. I just am nodding in agreement.
Okay.
I'm excited about this, Raina, about what you're doing, because I only did Facebook Live and I tried Zoom a couple times and it was like, so I just did the Facebook Live, but my Facebook Lives Betsey will tell you, I was really successful at them. As of lately, they've gone like crazy. So I have to learn Zoom. I have to learn what to do, and that is what I'm doing. So I applaud you for what you're doing, and you're going to be my lead. I'm going to follow you. That's what you're doing, because girls, I really do not know anything about computers and stuff, and I've worked very hard to learn. So I have to learn how to do Zoom. And I'm going to be an expert at it like you, Raina. So, and anybody else
Thank
that's
you.
on here that's doing it. So,
Well,
I have to
thank you, ladies.
say,
Okay.
if you're doing, one last tip, if you guys are doing, depending on what the hostess wants to do, okay, if she just wants to do in person, obviously that's obvious. I would not do a Facebook group for that. And I give them the option to do, I'm trying to get to more like what Terry does, what Betsy was talking about, where there is no Facebook. It's just join on Zoom or in person only. And I'm letting them know that if they want to do a Facebook pre-party with a Zoom at the end, they are going to have to participate. And if they're willing to participate in that pre-party, then we'll do it. If they don't have time to participate in that pre-party, then we're just going to do a Zoom, and all they need to do is invite people to the Zoom, because I'm not going to waste my time if she's not going to be present. And the same.
Yeah, I think that's key.
Yeah, and a Facebook party, if it's a Facebook Live, you kind of have to have the Facebook pre-party to do the live, but then you really have to coach them to make sure that their friends are showing up in advance. When I book the party and they want to do that, and that's what works best for them, I'm like, great, but we're going to work together to make sure that you know that you have some work to do to make sure your friends show up for that live, because it's easy to not show up for the live. So I'm like, what time works best for you and the guest that you're thinking of inviting? Because if what works best for her is 5 p.m., but nobody else can jump on until 7, that's not going to work.
right, exactly.
Yeah,
That's
and
pretty
if
much
it-
how I
yeah.
did Facebook Live too. You know, and I had my hostesses, they needed to be involved. And they were very involved with the comments and everything. So I think that's what made it successful. But Facebook has kind of jumped in there and has really messed things up for all of us. So that's why we all need to, I like either in-home or Zoom. I just got to learn how to do Zoom.
You really have to know your host, and if you want it very simple for them, I think eliminating the Facebook group is important, because the Facebook group could make them lazy, because they're like, oh, she's just going to keep posting. She's just going to keep posting. I'm not going to have to do much.
Right.
And then we lose the engagement.
Right.
So, we have to ask our guests or our hosts, I'm sorry, how much work do you want to put into this? Because if you want to text your or post every single day and do it on Facebook, we could do that. Otherwise, I'm going to be sending you a few simple texts to send your guests for our Zoom date only. So you choose which way do you want to do this.
Love it.
Well, I'm such an old school person, because I've been doing this for 29 years, that even with my Facebook, the little postcard invitations that are in the back, our back office, I've always had them send those little personal things out before we even did anything. And those always worked. And I'm wondering if that would be a good way, because you always have that host that says, well, how am I going to invite? How do I invite them? Well, if we don't want to do anything with Facebook, we're going to have another concept, something to do. So I'm listening to everybody, I'm going to go and stock up on those, and I'm going to give them that. You can go to the Dollar Tree and you can get the little envelopes that those will fit in if they just didn't want to send them out. It's the same price.
I think it totally depends on your host.
I
You
think
have
so
to ask
too,
them
but I'm
ahead
just
of
talking about
time.
my experience and what I'm hearing. Okay. Like, how am I going to invite? How do I do this? So there you go.
I think Facebook's negatives and drawbacks at this point can be seen as a real blessing for us, because it is reminding us of what we are good at and what actually is the core of our business, which is person to person. And we had to get away from that to some degree because of everything that happened. But now that we're moving back toward live and in person, or in distance and on Zoom, then with our new capabilities, we're not going to need Facebook and we're not going to need the inconsistencies of Facebook and the unknowns of Facebook frustrating us any longer. If we can either find ways of managing it no matter what, or deleting it from the way that we do things with our
Mhm.
hostesses.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
anyway,
Yeah.
well, great discussion. I didn't mean for it to go on so long, but man, this was awesome. And you all are just brilliant. Keep booking the parties. Don't worry about how many no's you're getting, because just keep putting your name out there with people. It will pay off. You will have a great end of January and into February
Mhm.
because of it. And you're going to be, there she goes. She's got her no sheet out. I just love it. I love it.
What I did, I laminated it, and I have one on one side and one on the other. And one is for when I'm trying to book parties, and the other one is for when I'm trying to recruit.
I love it. Great. Great, great, great. She's on a roll, girls. Follow that one.
Yeah.
All right. Have a great day, everybody. Wonderful weekend. Love you all. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thanks, Beth.
Bye.
Thank you.
You
Bye.
feel better, everybody. Feel better,
Thanks.
Alicia, Patricia.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Rena.
Bye-bye.